again. It's a rich thing.
In our previous video, we have already discussed about the concept of slicing. But in this session, we are going to understand something more about slicing. But before that, let's recap the slicing concept by a flow diagram. As you can see that we have a string wxyz and we want to execute this line, that is e, and within square bracket we have 0 as start index and 3 as end index. And we have also declared the step value as 1. And our expected output is wxyz. Now the initial value of current index is the value of start index. In our case it is 0. Then it is going to check whether the value of current index is greater than or equals to the value of end index or not. So here the value of current index is less than the end index, so the character that is present at index 0 will go to the output. Now we have mentioned the step value as 1. So 1 will be added with the current index and the current index will become 1, and again it will check the condition, and here also the value of current index is less than the end index. So the character which is present at index 1 will go to the output. Then again the step value, that is 1, will add it with the current index, and now the updated value of current index is 2, which is less than the end index, and it will also go to the output. Now at this time our current index will be 3, which is equals to the end index. So the character that is present at index 3, that is z, will not go to the output, and the slicing will be terminated. So here we have a string Python programming, and if I want to extract or print the word Python from this string, then we need to write a, and within square bracket we need to pass the starting index first. In our case it is 0, so we need to pass 0, and then we need to give colon, and then we need to write the end index plus 1. So our end index is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So we need to pass 5 plus 1, that is 6. Now it will print Python. We can do all these things by using negative indexing concept also. But here I have divided this concept in 3 different cases. So first one is when the last character or the character having index value -1 is not involved. And the second one is when the last character is involved. And finally when the step value is a negative number. So coming to the first case, that is when the last character is not involved. For example, here we have a string Python programming. Now if I want to extract this Python word from this string, then the last character, that is G, is not involved. So to print it using negative slicing concept or by using negative indexing, then we need to write a, and then within square bracket we need to pass the beginning index. So our beginning index will be -17. This P is present at index -17, so we need to pass -17, and then we need to give colon, and then we need to pass the end index. So our end index will be -17, -16, 15, 14, 13 and 12. So our end index is -12. So our end index is -12, but we need to pass end index plus 1. So -12 plus 1, that is -11. So our second case is when the last character is involved. For example, from this string, if we want to print programming, then the last character, that is G, is involved. So to print it, we need to write a, and then within square bracket we need to pass the first index. So our first index is, or the starting index is P. Now P is present at -11. Okay, so we need to write -11, and then we need to give colon, and finally we need to write the end index. So our end index is at -1, but we need to print end index plus 1, that is -1 plus 1, that is 0. Now if you write 0, then it will not going to print anything like this. The reason behind it is simple. So here we are using negative indexing, and we have our end index as -1, and if we add 1 with it, then we will get 0. But we don't have any concept like negative 0. So if we write 0, then it will consider 0, which is the first index. Now we have started from the index value negative 11 or the index 6. But at the same time, we have mentioned 0 as the end index, which means the starting index is greater than the end index, which is not a valid declaration. Because we have seen in our flow diagram that each time the step value is added up with the starting index, and at the same time it will check whether it is greater than or equals to the end index or not. If the condition satisfied, then our slicing will get terminated. And here comes the problem, because if we declare like this way, then at the very first moment the termination condition, that is the starting index is greater than end index, will get satisfied and slicing will stop and it will not going to print anything. To avoid it, we need to write a, and then within square bracket we need to pass the starting index, that is negative 11 as it is, and then we need to give colon, and then instead of passing 0 we need to pass none. Then it will going to print our expected output, that is programming. Or otherwise you can simply skip this part like a, and then within square bracket you need to pass minus 11, then colon, and then you can just skip it. Then also it will print programming, because if you skip it, then it will by default it will take up to the end of the string. We can also give the negative step value, but in that case we need to change the syntax. We need to first write the end index and then start index minus 1, and it will print the string in reverse order. For example, if I want to print this programming in reverse order from this string, then we need to write a, and then within square bracket we need to first pass the end index, that is 17, and then we need to give colon, and then the start index minus 1. So in this case our start index is at 6, so we need to pass 6 minus 1, that is 5, and then we need to write the negative step value, that is minus 1, and if I press enter, so this is our expected output.